Okay, before we tell you more about how to solve for disengagement, I just want to go a little bit deeper about what disengagement is. We're going to talk about the three levels of engagement because you've probably only ever heard of engaged or disengaged, but it's a little bit more specific than that. This is really important for you to know so that you can talk to your executives and share knowledge when they're like, what are you doing? What do you want us to do? Why do you need budget? You can just like spout knowledge in a way that they're like, I'm so glad we hired you. So let's go. Just to recap, remember driving engagement is highly emotional. Employee engagement is about how much employees care about their work and how willing they are to go above and beyond. And like in the last lesson, we talked about it being like a direct interpretation of how the company makes people feel. And I thought of another metaphor in the meantime. It's like a mirror. So a bad employee experience is like one of those funky circus mirrors or what am I trying to say? Carnival? When it's all weird looking and you're like, oh my God, my nose is huge, my hips are narrow, my shoulders are wide. A bad employee experience makes employees wake up every day and it's a reflection of them being like, what's wrong with me? Because the way the work is getting done makes us crazy. I've been late to meetings or not been prepared for meetings or like done poorly on a project or upset someone because I didn't do what was expected of me because that stuff wasn't clear. And then I take that home with me. This was my lived experience. And it's just like constant shame where you just day after day after day, you look in this mirror that is a reflection of you, but it's like a false representation of you because the daily life hasn't been optimized. And it's the stuff that you wouldn't know, like too many meetings, our manager's not trained, but I just wanted to revisit this and give you another way to think about it. You don't want your employees looking in a funky, wavy mirror every day being like, why do I stink at my job? Nobody wakes up wanting to be disengaged. It's like 100% a coping mechanism, and we don't mean to do it. We just start to feel bad about ourselves. So I've told you before that Gallup is the industry standard for a lot of what my research is based off of. I highly suggest you become obsessed with Gallup too. I can link out to some report that I've referred to many, many times in the notes of this lesson, just so you have it, but it's dense. So don't, if you don't have time and you don't want to get overwhelmed. But according to them and their 4 decades of research, it's been pretty consistent that as of recently, only 23% of the global workforce is engaged. Where people are waking up, they're committed, they're like doing their best work, and they choose the company in a way that, you know, they go above and beyond, and they're very productive, and that's very good for business. You want engaged employees. I think that's obvious. But every year that they do this study, they do a state of the workplace report, and every single year they're like, yep, we're still lingering at like 23%. So if you have 100 employees, imagine if only 23 of them were like, yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. Happy to do it. Let's go. While the rest of them are in 2 other buckets that we're about to discuss. So when we're talking about disengagement, we're going to talk about engaged, disengaged, and actively disengaged. Okay? Like I said, engaged employees take initiative. They're like super proactive and passionate. And you want these people working at your company because they drive the business forward. Disengaged employees are, you can see in this little rowboat, they're like in it, but they're not holding an oar. They're just kind of like sitting there. They're along for the ride. We can call this quiet quitting. They're not vocal about their concerns. They see questionable stuff happening and they're like, whatever. And they're very likely to leave. Like the turnover for the disengaged part of your workforce is very likely. Basically, when they've had enough, they'll just bounce. But they're not emotionally connected. And it's the biggest bucket. I should have put some numbers in here. I'm sorry that I didn't, but just know that it's the bigger of the buckets. And then you have your toxic, actively disengaged people. And it's not as big of a bucket, but it's there. And it causes a lot of distress to your business and to others who work there. So these are the people who are unhappy. They create conflict. They're very negative, and they sabotage projects on purpose. And there are lots of reasons for this. I want to be very clear that I have been all 3 of these people. I have been at many different levels of my career, many different times for lots of different reasons that I'm about to walk you through. I've been all three of these people. And those last two didn't feel good. The actively disengaged bucket is 100% like a trauma response. We're about to talk about it, but it's when someone feels so not set up for success, or just like things are so unfair that it's become their whole identity to either fight against it or fix it. And in the process, they completely lose sight of themselves and their values, and they just want to win, or they want to like get better treatment to the point where they get fired or they turn everyone else against the company. So let's talk about the times I've been all three. When I've been engaged, listen, no one got more peer recognition at my last company, Pingboard, than me. I loved that company. When I was engaged in my career, I was so obsessed with building up others and having meetings be very productive and have everyone be super clear on why they were there. I took pride in my meetings, and we'd go around and I'd be like, I invited you because this is your strength and this is why we need your feedback in this meeting, and you and you and you, and everyone would leave my meetings and be like, that was like the best pep talk and like a fun meeting. I'm like, I know, because I love this work and I love this project and I love you. I would improve processes without being asked. I loved it. Like, I'd clean up HubSpot or Salesforce without being told. And like, I would optimize on my own to make the work easier for everyone else I was working with, because I just wanted us all to remove roadblocks and do our best. And I would be thinking about the business in my off time. I would obsess over customers on like walks, or like on the weekend, I'd be folding laundry. Like, oh, what if we had approached it this way? Or like, what if we did this kind of a campaign? Or, you know, on our roadmap, we were talking about this, but I feel like we should prioritize something else based on a conversation I had with a customer. I should talk to the product leader and go pull those notes from that recorded call so I can like show them like, hey, I have input that you might want for the sake of making the best decision for the roadmap. And, you know, that product leader loved me. We had a great relationship. So I loved being engaged. It felt good. Time flew by. I've been highly engaged twice in my career, and I was so happy, and my home life was great, and it just never seemed to last. The times I've been disengaged, just sitting in the boat, just like skating by, the behavior would present as I wouldn't be prepared for meetings. I'd kind of like attend the weekly huddle and be like, whatever, I hate this meeting. I don't know why we do it, but okay. I wouldn't really participate. We'd go around, and we always hated when managers would be like, you've been quiet. And the person's like, yeah, I know, because this meeting's dumb and you're going to make your own decision anyway. So like, you're wasting our time. But I would also avoid my email like the plague. I would avoid Slack messages because I was just distant. I was putting in so much energy, you know, it's like, what's the point of paying attention at the all hands? Because they're just talking about revenue. What's the point in pushing myself so hard because it goes unnoticed? And you just stop, you subconsciously, you don't mean to, but it's an emotional reaction to feeling like you just don't really matter or ladder up to anything that is driving the business forward. It's just a paycheck. I would also see bad decisions being made for customers, for road mapping, for, I don't know, even the way the team would be treated. I'd just be like, sure, whatever. Like, just don't bother me, you know? And my home life at those times were also like not great. Like, I would take that home and be like, I don't matter. And that's how I would kind of present in my friendships or in my relationships. And then you did not want me actively disengaged. I would say only one time I've been the brilliant jerk. It was a point of high stress. I'll tell you that story in a second. But most of the time, actively disengaged can be, you see that everything's so unfair and messed up and everyone's being run ragged. As I got older, people would come to me who were a little bit younger, and they're like, I don't know what's wrong with me. I feel safe to talk to you. Like, I don't know I can't ship this project. I'm not really sure what they want. That my manager's scary. And I'd be like, yeah, I don't like your manager either. Your manager and I go toe to toe all the time. There's nothing wrong with you. I wish you were on my team. When I was a people manager, I'd be like, I'm protecting you guys from the BS that's out there. Like, they'd come to me and say, what was that all hands? And I'd say, let's translate and how this affects all of us and how we should approach it. So there's like the brilliant jerk, and there's the person who's like, this is bogus and we all deserve better, and I support you and will be a reference for you to leave, because we feel like we're being unjustly treated. And I personally always hated seeing someone very talented or less experienced in their career going through what I was going through earlier in my career. Like, what's wrong with me? I loved pepping those people up. Like, you're incredible. Okay. It's probably just not this company for you. One time well, again, I can't believe I was pushed to this point or like chose this, but anger's a secondary emotion. There's been 2 or 3 times I've really raised my voice at managers because expectations weren't clear, and like promotions would be given off of weird merits, and I was busting my butt so hard. And it wasn't clear what my path to grow was. I had a manager, who just didn't know his soft skills as well as he needed to. And we would have these recurring weekly meetings where he'd paint this horrible picture of like, we need more sales. What are we going to do? And he'd go around and ask everyone, what should we do? And everyone would take a turn to try and say something, but he would cut you off and tell you why that was a bad idea. And after one of the meetings, this was during COVID, I was like, can you talk like right after that meeting? And I was like, your meetings suck and they're sucking the life out of all of us, and nobody likes working with you. I don't like working with you. And I don't understand what that meeting's for other than for you to stir up a bunch of fear in everyone where nothing gets figured out. And that didn't go well. And I didn't like that version of myself, but it's very distracting. Companies or employees will spend a lot of company time holding space for each other. It's at a certain point when you're actively disengaged, you do not care about the company. And there's been times where it's like, oh, we're moving forward with this campaign and this is the budget, even though we've shown them the research, and they won't let us do experiments and they won't let us test other stuff. Like, this never works. It's a huge waste of money. Like, fine, set it to be an aggressive target and show them that it was a huge waste of money. Like it was like we had to come up with creative ways to do our best work, to be like, stop forcing us to do stuff a weird way and not trusting us to do our jobs. All of this is management related. A lot of what made me disengaged was my exact like direct report manager micromanaging, or just not having the soft skills to lead a team with open communication and creating a culture of fear or a culture of lack, a mindset of lack where people are like, are we going to have a job in the next quarter? But I have also had managers, great managers, who were like, going back to when I was engaged, they were like, let's lean into your strengths. How can I support you? I want to recognize you for this. Like, how can I help you grow? I want to push you. I know you can do it. I had plenty of those managers, and I still talk to them all the time. I'll call them when I'm having a bad day or feeling stuck about something professionally. And I'm like, you know me and how I think. I need to talk to you. And we still have that bond. And those companies were very profitable. And I stayed at those companies for a long time. So the time I was the brilliant jerk, just for the sake of storytelling, if you want to stop this lesson, if you just wanted the information, great, we're done. Thanks for watching. But sometimes I think with this course, the best thing is for you to be able to hear the storytelling from outside of your HR or people ops or comms world and hear firsthand why we get so quiet quitty and rage quitty, okay? After an acquisition, I was voluntold to do a webinar within 2 weeks to like talk about the merger. Webinars were my thing. I was a spokesperson. I was very excited to do it. But I was shoved together with a new team by myself with like a whole net new team of others of the other company, which was not the problem. I love meeting new people. But there were like 8 different project owners. I kept slacking people, asking questions, and nobody really knew who was the owner of the project. We had a big, long, wandering meeting where they wanted to know what my outline was and like how they were grilling me for like, what's the presentation going to be like? And I was like, back up, friends. Where is the promotion? I've been trying to get a hold of all of you. Who's the owner of this project? No one could answer the question. It's when we feel backed into a corner that the brilliant jerk side of all of us that does exist can come out. It's like, the end all do all of like a chest shove of like, you're scaring me, you're upsetting me, get away from me. And in this meeting, I lost control of my temper and was like, maybe I won't even show up because no one's even registered because you all are asking me what the topic is. I've already tried to send it to all of you. Like, you know, when you like, maybe you don't, maybe this is my moody, broody Scorpio. Not everybody has these personality traits, but a side of me came out where I was like trying to hold other people that I just met accountable. What's the plan? How are you promoting anything? Who can I ask questions to? What are the goals? What's the ideal outcome? And they were like, we don't know. We were just told to do this webinar. And I was like, this is no way to work. I don't want to work this way. And I had to go back. I didn't have to. I chose to go back and apologize to one of the marketers on the team that I reacted like this to. But the damage was already done. And she was like, you're a jerk. And I was like, that's fair. I wish you could have known me before this merger because I actually am not. And you didn't deserve the way I talked to you, but this isn't fun for me either. And I'm feeling lost and upset that I'm about to give this performance in front of the whole company and all these net new prospects, but I don't know what you guys want. And we couldn't really repair that relationship. And then I left. So it's very important for you to know these different buckets, and you'll know like your quiet quitters versus your people who are toxic. But just know that someone who's cared a lot, like I've loved certain jobs. I love to do a good job. Anybody can slip into disengaged, inactively disengaged, but they are telltale signs that there's a management issue and a lack of clarity issue, a lack of transparency, and there is too much speed to market or like too much expectations and measuring of stuff without being clear on where to get information, who to work with. Nobody wakes up and wants to be a jerk, truly. It's like the last resort. So I think that's my last slide. Here's the biggest takeaway is just that disengagement is a coping mechanism to when the daily work is broken and mentally draining. I mean, think about home life when you were a kid. No one had like a great, super awesome childhood. If you did, I'd love to talk to you because everyone's got something where they're like, I had a great childhood, but I was a latchkey kid and I fed myself dinner and put myself to bed and my parents were never home. It's like, oh, what? You were neglected. I forgot where I was going with that, but a lot of my stuff is going to touch on, childhood abandonment wounds or like performance wounds. A lot of how we present as adults has to do with our childhood is that second point. I'm curious. Did you know of these 3 levels of engagement? Can you click? There's a little chat icon. I think it's above and to the right. Can you click on that? You'll either see the lessons of the course or you'll click on that chat icon and you can leave a comment. Did you know about these 3 levels of engagement? Did SHRM teach you? If you were aware, where did you learn about it? Because when I go deep and look for this stuff, I don't always see this and it's like very vaguely described. So I'm doing a little bit of research here and I'm curious. Did you already know this? Okay. All right. The next lessons are going to be quicker, but these are foundational concepts with some storytelling that I wanted to get out. And I can't really control the stories when they come out. So I'll try to be quicker. Okay. I love you guys. Bye.